Hi guys, my name's Jepster and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. So, I'm a colorist in the Philippines and I've done projects ranging from digital ads, I've also done short films and so much more. Now, I'd like to welcome you guys to the fourth episode of this series, which is called the DaVinci Resolve Color Grading 101. If you want to see the previous episodes, you can check them out. I'll probably post them around here. There'll be a link, or I could post them in the description below. So for this week, we're gonna talk about how to work with nodes. So I had a friend who was a user of a different software, and they tried to use DaVinci Resolve, and he kept explaining to me that he didn't understand the whole matrix thing. I was like, what matrix thing? Did you see Keanu Reeves? Or was Neo there? No, he was apparently speaking about the nodes because he was so used with the layer system in the different software that he was so confused on how to use the nodes. So for this episode, I'm going to teach you how powerful the node-based workflow can be. So I guess you want to have enough of this intro. Let's get right to it, and here we go. So what is the node workflow? So let's turn off the clips area, okay, so that we could focus more on our nodes. So the nodes, it's basically the left is in and the right is out. So it's like if you're working in Premiere, your very first effect, which is in the bottom, that is your in, and the very top effect would be your out. So that would be in and out. So from here, it's left to right. Okay, so it doesn't mean that number 1, number 2, number 3, because these nodes actually have numbers. That means that's the order of how the effects are done. No, the order of the effects is always from left, right. So if you have like 100 nodes or around 30 nodes, 25, you probably have around 3 rows, and it should still be left to right, but left to right, down, left to right, down, and then left to right, and this is still your out. So it's in media and then media out. Okay, so media in, media out. So here we have it's a nice image, but so I'd like to teach you also how I do my workflow. So basically we're going to do a bit of exposure. So we've got some clipping here, and before I do that, so you could actually name your node. So you could right click on the node and add the label. Let's name this exposure, so exp, and then I could actually lower the gain so that we don't have any clipping, no more clipping. Okay, and these stone area is a little bit bright. Let's put them in okay, this area. Okay, now we have good exposure. Now we want to adjust the saturation. What we would do is we would actually add another node. So if you want to add another node, just go to color, nodes, and then add a serial node, or our shortcut will be Alt S. Okay, so you can actually add more saturation, probably put around 60. There. So then we have good color right now. So there's a bit of nice color over there, over here. Okay, so compare that before and after. Let's label this, let's name this node saturation. That. Now probably let's add a bit of sharpness. Oh, I forgot. I always add my sharpness before I do any grading, before I do any color correction. So what I do is I would go to color, nodes, and then add a serial node before the current node. So I select my first node, which was our exposure, go to color, nodes, and then add a serial node before the current, or Shift S. Okay, now we call this, label this sharpness. Okay, for that we could actually add a bit of sharpness, make the image more defined. Okay. Right, so that's how you deal with nodes. Okay, so if you've watched my previous video about qualifiers, power windows, and trackers, we could actually do that with the next node that I'm going to talk about. So we're going to use what we call layer node. So for example, create a node, and we just want to isolate the reds. We want the reds to be a different color. So we're going to use our qualifier tool. We're going to select our reds, selection range red, and if we press the highlight button, majority of the reds are selected, but let's refine our qualifier. Okay, so we could actually clean out some of that, clean it up more, and soften it up. So now we have a bunch of reds, but we want to separate these reds with the other colors. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add another layer. So what's the concept of layer nodes? So it's actually the reverse of Photoshop. So the more you add layers, it actually adds layers downward. So what if your client says, I want the greens to be a little bit more, let's see, more autumn, more orange. So let's try to select the greens. So we have some greens over here. So let's select those. Okay, so let's expand on that. So we have most of the greens, and we reduce the selection with clean black, right? Soften that selection, and we can adjust the hue to be more of an autumn look. Okay, now if you actually remove the highlight, now all separated. What we were supposed to do with the reds, probably lessen it, lessen saturation, a little bit saturated, or we could actually adjust the color to be different hue, probably make it more purple. Okay, so it seems this area wasn't selected. Highlight, there we go. Okay, so the reds are now more of a magenta because we changed the hue. It actually changes to blue. Okay. Now if you could see, her lipstick was actually also selected. Now we could actually fix that if we add another layer and just select her lips using our power tool. Use a power window just to make it more simple. Okay, and then just select her lips, highlight. Okay. Clean this up, soften it. Probably window, minimize it more. And then lastly, let's track the lips. As you can see, Resolve's tracking is in 3D. Problem when your wrong button, once your subject moves in 3D. Back then, tracking would be more of two-dimensional, and you have to do it mano a mano. Okay, out. So now we have separated the lips. Okay, so we now have quite a totally different image. Okay, if you actually look at the before, if you actually look at the before and look at the after on your image, because we've done some correction on our we did some color replacements. Okay, so this is the power of layer nodes. Okay, so we want more our blues to be more of teal. We could actually do that. So once again, we use the qualifier, select more of our blues. Okay, and then that clean white. Okay, so Yes, we want more of the saturated blues. Dominant of that saturation, and then soften that. Soften, soften. Blur that out. So we want the blues to be more of teal, so we change the hue. Right there. So we have a totally we have, oh, this is how you use the layers. So the more layers you make, it goes downwards. So basically the most top image is actually the one that's below. Okay, so if you look at these outs, or these out arrows going to the layer node, the bottommost node is actually in Photoshop the topmost layer. Okay, so that's how it is when it comes to layer nodes. Now, when you do parallel nodes, for example, create another node, and then we use parallel nodes. What's the difference between parallel nodes and what do you call this? Layer nodes? So, for example, for parallel nodes, I want to separate the color of the highlights and the shadows. So basically, I want it half-half. So I want, for example, I want this to be the shadows. If we turn on our highlights, and our highlight option or focus option, and just select the lighter part of the area. So it's around 50-50. We put it around here. Let's make it around 60. And then we soften that up. And then we denoise to make it more obvious. And we want the tone of this to be more of orange. And then we want the shadows to be, so what we did here was 60. Probably make this around 60 as well, the high 60. And then soften that up. And then we want this to be more of a teal. So we could actually more teal. And once you remove the highlight, you could actually see these mixed together. And this would be the end result. So actually the parallel nodes mix together all the nodes that you create. So for example, you want to add another node, add another parallel node, and you just want this to be around, change around the shadows to be more of green. It actually mixes that into the parallel node. So that's the difference between parallel nodes and layer nodes. Layer nodes, it's actually just a lot of masking. It's like Photoshop top to bottom. And then for parallel nodes, it's basically just blending these nodes all together using whatever color grading you're doing. So that's the difference. This is the actual workflow of nodes. Like I said, left to right. If you actually see the numbering, it's all over the place. So there's no number. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Number 10 is missing. 11, 12, probably this is 5. This is 10. But the whole point is actually, let's add a vignette. So how do we add a vignette? First that. So basically, this is the node workflow. It's basically left to right. So left to right, and then left, right, top, bottom, right, top, bottom, right, right, right. So media in to media out. So that's the color grading workflow, or the node workflow used in DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so that was the node-based workflow. So it's a little bit confusing at first, but once you get the hang of it, I guess it'll be a really smooth workflow. So we have a left to right workflow compared to the bottom to top workflow. So guys, if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions, don't forget to send them below. And if you like what you're watching, don't forget to press the like button. And if you want to learn more about DaVinci Resolve and color grading, don't forget to subscribe. If you want to be notified for new episodes, don't forget to press the notification button and you'll be notified when I upload new episodes. So my name's Jepster. Once again, I hope you learned a lot. Next week, we'll be talking about curves. No, not just about the RGB curves, but also the different kinds of curves in Resolve. So you have the hue versus hue, and so on and so forth. So press that subscribe button, and you'll learn more about these curves in the next episode. So see you guys there, and Jepster out.